Alexander Stephens was born on February 11, 1812. As a child, Alexander Stephens grew up orphaned in Crawfordsville, Georgia, where there is now a state park named after him. Stephens attended the University of Georgia. After graduating, he taught at a local school. While teaching school, Stephens studied law, and in 1834, he was admitted to the bar. In 1836, Stephens joined the Whig Party. He was later elected to the Georgia House of Representatives. He served 5 years in the House before being elected to the 28th Congress. Alexander Stephens joined the Democratic Party. He served as chairman of the Committee on Territories from 1848 to 1850. Stephens was against the Mexican War, which made him highly critical of President James Polk during this conflict. Alexander Stephens was elected a member of the Georgia Convention in 1861. They chose Stephens as a delegate to the Provisional Congress, which was said to meet in Montgomery. Alexander Stephens was an advocate of slavery. He went on to campaign for the Kansas-Nebraska Act. The Kansas-Nebraska Act was an act to organize the territories of Kansas and Nebraska. It repealed the Missouri Compromise, which later outlawed slavery above the 3630 line in the Louisiana territories. This later reopened the national struggle over slavery in the Western Territory. As a result of the slavery conflict, America entered the Civil War. After the war, Alexander Stephens was imprisoned in Fort Warren, Boston. He was imprisoned for 5 months, but was eventually pardoned by President Andrew Johnson. Shortly after the war, he wrote a 2-volume book on the conflict, and he entitled it Constitutional View of the Late War Between the States in 1868. Alexander Stephens was elected to the 43rd Congress. He then went on to serve from December of 1873 until his resignation in November of 1822. In 1822, Alexander Stephens was elected as governor of Georgia. Alexander Stephens served as governor until his death on March 4, 1883 in Atlanta, Georgia. And this concludes our project on Alexander Stephens by Jessica Eason and Sydney Blocker. Our group roles: together we met up and gathered information. Then we went to the library and did our voiceover for our project. This video is used for educational purposes only.